from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's a winner. That's a winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's a winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to a World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Welcome to That's a Podcast. Well, That's a Winner. What am I doing here? It's been so long, I have no idea what even I'm doing. Welcome. I'm Ryan. That's Josh, and I'm bringing in Kyle right now as well. We're trying the vertical new view here. That's what the software says we should try. So let's give it a try and see
if you're watching on your phone, hopefully this looks great.
Yeah, and if you're on YouTube, you might go, this looks terrible. So I'm not sure exactly if we should like this or not. Kyle, you're there. Can you hear me? No, you can keep it.
Yeah.
You can keep it horizontal.
There we go.
All right.
I'm here.
All right, so That's a Winner podcast. I don't even know what I said.
It's been too long.
I don't even know what I said at the beginning.
We've been in hibernation.
Hibernation. The season ended in a terrible way. I stayed away from as much things as I could. Now we're finally getting back into it. And over the last 24 hours, we've had some exciting things happen and conversations that were started. And I think that's the best way to get into it and get going. Josh is here with me in our studio, and Kyle is in Mount Carmel, Illinois. So Josh is that way, so I'm looking over there if it looks weird. Anyways, Kyle, welcome. I'm going to play a clip from Trevor Bauer. Let's just get straight into Trevor Bauer. We can have that conversation. I can't play the video totally across the live, but I can play the audio. So just be quiet for a second. Let's just listen to what Trevor Bauer said on Theo Vaughn's podcast. I'm not sure what it's called, but Theo Vaughn had him on, and this is what he had to say. So that was Trevor Bauer on Theo Vaughn's show, and that dropped. That came out, that clip, yesterday, and then Trevor Bauer went on after Gary Sheffield Jr. made a post about how he's a good how he's a good guy and a good player and teammate, and how he should get a chance. Then Trevor Bauer tweeted and said, "I will do this." He pretty much said what he said in that video, that he would play incentives and league minimum. That started a storm, and the questions that we popped up on our Twitter and on our Facebooks and Instagram. We're live on Instagram for the first time right now too, by the way.
Nice.
And we're almost 1,000 followers on TikTok, so then if we can be able to go live on TikTok once we get there as well. So that conversation started, and it started a storm. We've had over 500,000 engagements across all the platforms regarding this question. When we said he should be on the Cardinals no matter what, and anyways, on any team. So it's a very polar question and a conversation. But I want to, some people have been connecting this politically, and so I never want to talk political in this world at all, because I want to stick to sports. And so people have been claiming this is a MAGA Trumpy. People are going for having him on. What people don't know is the dynamic of this group of people that are on this show regularly is very different and very mixed, but I wouldn't call anyone in this group, I don't want to alienate any followers or listeners and people that pay attention, of any strong MAGA humans in this group. So it's not a political conversation. It's right and wrong of people. And so people can have moral issues with what has happened with Trevor Bauer, and I agree with. I understand your stance in that situation, but where I come from in this situation is, if he was arrested, if he was charged, if he had any of those points just to start, and if the Cardinals had a good rotation, high quality rotation, this conversation wouldn't start whatsoever. There wouldn't even be a need. If we had the Blue Jays rotation or the Mariners rotation or any of those other good rotations, it wouldn't even be a conversation that needed to be had. But because the Cardinals have put themselves where we are, then that's why it's like, well, this would make sense for the league minimum. And again, it has I don't even care about Trevor Bauer. It's because the Cardinals don't have a good starting rotation.
Yeah.
That's what it's about for me, is because this guy has been able to pitch at a high level and is being blackballed for things that are not legally based. Again, if he was arrested and charged, then that is a different scenario. But none of those things have happened. I don't want to litigate what has happened, because you know what? Only litigation has happened in Trevor Bauer's has been civilly. There's been no actual litigation at all, and there's nothing that's even outstanding criminally against the man. So again, you can have issues with his kinks. You can have issues with the kinks of the women that he spends time with, but to have issues legally and criminally, that's where I stand. I've also put out a tweet, and anyone that's listening, you can comment and join us as well. I've also reached out for anyone that wants to go the opposite and argue why he shouldn't be, and we're more than happy to have you on and have that conversation, because we're at a point now where we have a poll out on our Twitter right now and has almost 1,000 votes on it. Would you be in favor of the St. Louis Cardinals signing Trevor Bauer? And it's about 700 to 300 yes.
And there's several other polls out that are similar results.
Yes. So I don't think that we're in the minority, and the polling is saying that we're not in the minority either, because I think it's gone on so long and drug on so long that nothing has actually come out of legalities, and that's where we are. Please comment and everything. I want to get to Josh and Kyle now too, but please comment, please tweet. Let's have that conversation. This isn't a I'm right, you're wrong. This is like why this makes sense for the Cardinals for this amount of money. If it's $20 million, no. But at league minimum, that's where the conversation has got me going. This would be stupid for the Cardinals to pass on.
Yeah, that's where I come in. It's the pitching side of it. I think there's two reasons you'd say, well, why are you guys even talking about this? Because the Cardinals aren't going to do it. Yes, we know that. Ben Frederickson just posted up a column like 2 minutes before we went live as to why this isn't happening again. And credit to Ben Fred, like he has asked this question already, and so it's not going to happen. The Cardinals barely take any chances financially. They're not going to take chances at a PR mess for themselves. And so we understand that, we get that, but why tie it to this? It's two reasons. Like Ryan said, it's one, we have the worst season in 30 years, and we think, okay, pitching, and we go get pitching, but it's at the bottom of the trash bin, except for Sonny Gray. And so it still left us wanting, well, how's the rotation going to be? Well, maybe Trevor Bauer could be good. Maybe he could be somebody that would join the staff and would probably be the second best pitcher. Maybe.
Well, that's where also where I sit with it as well. It's like, well, he might be terrible. He might not make it out of spring training, and that's okay.
Then cut him, like he said.
And he said, if there's a problem, cut me. That's where I sit with, like, yeah, get it all out in spring training, and if he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out, and you get rid of him. Kyle, what do you have on it?
Well, I hope everybody heard the sound clip. I didn't hear the sound clip that you played, so I hope it played for everybody else. I'm technology challenged. But nonetheless, I would say this. I'm all for it because it makes financial sense. It makes financial sense. There's a lot of upside that can come from a minimal investment. And if you're looking at it as you look at your stock portfolio and you're looking at things that you're going to do financially that make good sense, you take risks, you take calculated risks, and you take calculated risks that potentially have a big return with minimal risk, right? So that's what this move is. Now, the only thing about it that I think I don't like is the amount of attention that Trevor Bauer in camp, wherever he is going to bring. And the first time we go through an entire schedule and every stop that we make along the way, there's going to be something that happens, and it's going to become a distraction. If it becomes a distraction, then I think we've got to address the distraction. But if he's striking people out and pitching with a good ERA and getting good quality starts, like you said, he's not really been arrested. You can be morally upset with some of the decisions he's made, but at the end of the day, is it a good, sound financial investment? I think so. The problem, again, that I have is the distraction part of it, which it will be for at least the beginning of his tenure if he comes to St. Louis.
And it would be a distraction, but then you could get it out of the way in spring training.
That's
But
what I was gonna
also,
say, yeah.
but also, winning cures all. And if he's winning, no one's really gonna. But also,
It's
where
not just winning. If he's winning and he's not causing trouble in the clubhouse, which is the other thing hanging over his head, which,
we
by
could
the
talk
way,
about
I've
that.
never heard any teammate say that
Yeah.
about him, and he's not causing problems off the field, it's just like he said, like, just give me a chance. If he's not doing those two things and you get the PR stuff out of the way in spring training, then what are we talking about here? You're talking about the upset of a guy who won the Cy Young, what, 2 years ago?
So why would there be bad PR for him and there's not for Marcelo Zuna and Chapman that just got signed to a new team, right? Why is there not people
Chapman signed the division
right
with the Pirates.
Pirates, right? So why aren't the Pirates media clamoring to say why is he on a team? Why? Let's not forget he was arrested and charged, and that has never even gotten to that point for Trevor Bauer. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say, I think that the thing of it is it's almost like if you go with the NFL approach, it's the Colin Kaepernick approach, in that he's not been re-signed. And because he's not been re-signed, it's becoming a bigger deal the longer he goes without being re-signed. I mean, we all know that in this world of sports, you have only a set amount of time before you can't play the game anymore. And that clock is ticking. And the longer it goes, the longer it waits, the more of a story it becomes. And so, right or wrong, I think Trevor Bauer on a team will become a bigger story than any of those guys that you just mentioned. And what you've got to hope is that if that does come to fruition, that there isn't something else that's going to hang over his head or surface. We live in this. I'm just throwing out a political term, not getting political, right? But we live in this cancel culture world where you do one thing wrong, you're done. And so that's the concern, is what else might there be out there, if anything, and how long is it going to be before people put this in the past and let it go for what it was?
So you make a good point. You bring up Colin Kaepernick.
It's a great point.
Do you think that this is a collusion attempt with the MLB and other teams? Because Colin Kaepernick, let's not forget, sued the NFL and got a huge amount of money because of it. So is this a collusion type thing with the MLB and MLB teams? And will Trevor Bauer, if he doesn't make a team at some point, sue? Because if he doesn't make a team now, where he's saying that he'll play practically for as free as possible, uh, I don't think that it happens if it doesn't happen in the next few weeks, probably, right? So, do you think that he has a case to sue against MLB like Colin Kaepernick did with the NFL?
I mean, potentially, if it drags out. I haven't seen anything, and he hasn't said that he would. He hasn't hinted that he would do that. So on one hand, he's not causing more problems for the
Yeah.
MLB in that way. But to Kyle's point, just like with Kaepernick, on the other end, like, the reason why you don't see teams do that because they don't want to be the first one to do it, right?
Right.
And the Cardinals definitely aren't going to be the first one. So again, people might be thinking, well, why are you even talking about this? Trevor Bauer probably doesn't even want to play to St. Louis. Well, actually, somebody tweeted at him last night, Nick G318, said, come pitch with Sonny in STL. I want a Bauer jersey so bad. And Trevor Bauer replied, I would love to. Sonny is one of my favorite guys in baseball. Cards haven't offered me a contract, though. So if you remember, Trevor was teammates with Sonny in Cincinnati in 2020. And then, of course, Trevor Bauer won the Cy Young in the shortened COVID year in 2020 with the Reds. So they know each other well. Sounds like they might be friends. But yeah, so now look, he's trying to get on. He's trying to get a contract from any team. I've seen him respond to other fans like Padres and others. So it's not like it's only been the Cardinals, but that's the tie-in.
Mentioning of actual St. Louis and saying, yeah, I would love to, and I would love to be there, right, and play with Sonny. Like it again, if it was a bunch of money, if the Cardinals had a good staff, like a great staff, we wouldn't even have the conversation. But when you're in desperate need, desperate times call for desperate measures.
And your ownership always talks about, well, we can't spend the money like the Dodgers, and we can't spend all this money and do it. Okay, well, this is league minimum. You did it for Matt Carpenter, and what maybe might he give you?
All right.
statistically, he's going to give you the leadership that you hope for.
You
But if we can make the case for the leadership, why can't we make the case for potential actual
here's where you just
production?
made me think. The leadership. They say that we have a great leadership, which I do not think that Nolan Arenado is a leader, and I do not think that Paul Goldschmidt is a great leader because of who they are as players and the type of personalities that they are.
And both have acknowledged they got to step that up this year.
That's different, from my opinion, to other people's whatever. And Matt Carpenter, they brought in for that leadership. So if we have such great leadership in that clubhouse, then shouldn't it be self-contained in that clubhouse if you brought on someone like Trevor Bauer? Shouldn't that leadership be able to control that negative narrative and what's going on?
Well, you could also make the argument if he and Sonny know each other so well, that might be a play for helping, having somebody in there that he knows, somebody that can speak to him and say, hey, maybe you're going over the line, like chill out. Or that's a friend that knows him. Now, I don't know how close of friends they are, but.
Right. But also, would you want someone that is so determined, so like he is so determined to get back. Like that's the part that
he's got a lot of incentive and a lot of drive to show that he can still do it.
Absolutely, because he got paid $25 million to not play for the Dodgers last year still, and then got $5 million to play in Japan. So he's not
and could have sat back and not played at all and just kept his money. He went to Japan.
He can still play in Japan again this year and make another $5+ million as well. But he wants to come and play for $740,000 and then incentive based the rest of the way. We have a bunch of comments that are rolling in. So first off, I laughed at the very, very beginning because
so did I.
This guy says,
"Get it every time."
Hold on, I'm trying to find it. There he is. First time he's listened to the show, and is he gonna pull up on our new? First time I'm watching, thought the dude in the middle was DeYoung. First glance, yep, it's
every time.
It happens, and he's no longer with the Cardinals, and this is not Paul DeYoung or family, but. Let's look at some of the other comments that are rolling in. We got Chris. I'm for signing Bauer, but I get the concern on the other side too. Ironically, a lot that are anti-Bauer to STL are still clamoring for another starting pitcher. Yeah, so like I get that, and there's a lot of people. Someone else even commented, I'm not really sure on Bauer, but I want Monty. Well, sure. But the cost, it's all about the cost. Yeah, you want Monty, you want Snell. Well, yeah, you want to go trade for Cease, you want to go trade for one of these guys. I get that, but it's not going to cost this low amount of money, $740,000 plus incentives. I'm going to scroll some more.
You're not going to get a higher risk, a lower risk and a higher ceiling potentially.
Yeah.
For any other pitcher that's out there right now.
People can keep on saying it's high risk. What's the high risk part? Just
it's a PR. It's a PR. And then again, if that happens and you sign him in the worst case, wow, everything we thought was true. His character's terrible. He's terrible in the clubhouse. And on top of that, he can't pitch. Or maybe he can pitch, but his character still sucks and he's still causing off-field problems. Well, you still cut him.
Yeah, absolutely. But if let's just say Mo or Bill DeWitter or even Sonny Gray comes out and say, look, this guy has not been convicted or even arrested or charged with any crime, we're going to give him a chance. And if it doesn't work, he won't be with the team. Is bad PR going to question Mo or?
I saw someone say, "Do you want the fans boycotting and not coming to games?" Look, if you guys didn't boycott and not come to games last year, then you're never going to do it. You're never going to do it.
And if he's good, you're going to boycott? No, you're going to be happy that the Cardinals actually, put their neck out there. Like you're not going to boycott it. No, you're not. And there's going to be people that are going to be upset. But again, it looks like the minority are the ones who are upset based on polls that we've seen out there. Can I keep on going down lots of these comments?
Yeah, we appreciate all the comments. Thanks for jumping in.
Zero reason for the Cardinals not to sign Bauer, and we seem to agree. And I've tried again. I've reached out to people saying, hey, if you want to come on, I asked Brendan Schaefer if he wants to come on and have that conversation because he disagrees. He hasn't. He said no. He did not want to join and have that conversation. The Cardinals should be all over this. Tom also says, this is from Twitter. Tom is on from Twitter. This is new that Twitter is now letting it put on the screen. Twitter didn't used to let it come on the screen. Sonny and Bauer as a 1-2 would be great, and that's literally the ceiling for Trevor Bauer.
Worked out very well for the Reds.
It could be that's the ceiling is him as a 2 or a 1, and I would be happy with him just being good enough to be a 4. But that's the difference of the possibilities. Let's see. There's some more going through. Would any of the Cardinals fans' interest change if Sonny publicly came out vouching? I think so. Now, people today on Twitter is like, who has ever said anything good about Bauer? Well, Gary Sheffield Jr., They didn't play together, I don't think. But Mookie Betts played with him, and he said, I have it on my phone. I have that screenshot. He said, "My experience with Bauer is not anything remotely close to what everyone else experiences. I love him. I think he's an awesome guy. The personal things, I have no control. I have no say. Obviously, nothing ever came of it. He's awesome pitcher. He's a great guy, somebody who wants to take mound every fifth day. But at the end of the day, I don't make the decision." And that was when him referring to going up, playing with the Dodgers. And that decision is not as simple as baseball. And I understand that part as well. And then Dinsley is commenting as well. Dinsley says Bauer is a win-win, and I agree. And again, I'm going to check and make sure there's nothing else coming around anywhere else of the people that are against it.
I mean, what higher recommendation do you need on somebody's character than Mookie Betts? An actual teammate, a World Series winner. Did he win MVP with the Red Sox? I think he did. A former MVP.
You're right.
Like, that's somebody who's always been beloved, both on the Red Sox and that clubhouse and on the Dodgers. You never hear a bad thing about Mookie Betts.
Right. Never a bad thing. But people say that's one. Well, yeah, it is one. But also, it's Mookie Betts. It's not like.
But I wonder how many of his teammates, especially guys like Kershaw and others, jumped at, hey, we need to probably get, because they were worried PR-wise or thought that it might actually be true.
It's a cancel
and then now maybe feel
front.
this way, and maybe have even said it to him personally, but they don't want to come out and say it publicly, because of whatever optics that it shows.
Yeah, I agree. There's someone on Twitter who's anti. So I've invited these people on, and no one wants to join us. But he was never exonerated from the accusation. She just dropped her case because he filed a countersuit. We will never know the truth, but being that there are others and there's a locker room cancer, that seems enough for me. The Cardinals don't take such risks. Now, the last part is probably the most accurate part, that the Cardinals don't take such risks. I don't want to litigate the whole thing.
I encourage you to go read actually evidence that got dug up in Discovery because of what he sued for defamation.
Check out all the texts. Check out everything that he proved and why it was dropped. And he countersued her, and she got no money out of it. Right? That's the whole thing. He didn't pay her to go away. She got no money from him.
And the fact that he settled, you could argue, is a character on his part, because he could have drug it out.
To go away.
With the money that he has, he could have drug it out if he really wanted and tried to win it.
He knew he would get nothing from her. But the point is, this is such.
He proved his innocence and let it go.
I don't even know how to look. There's a lot of people that do a lot of freaky things that you're unaware of, and the only reason you found out is because he has a lot of money that people have attempted to get the money out of him for those things. So, literally, to me, it's kink shaming but he's also just has so much money that they want to try and get it out of it. Kyle, go ahead.
Let's throw it to baseball. Let's talk numbers. All right. So the last time he pitched in Major League Baseball was the last time he pitched in Major League Baseball.
Tom's stuff up here too.
Okay, there you go. So the stats I'm looking at from Baseball Reference said that in Japan he had a 2.59 ERA over 2 leagues in which he played. He went 11-4 there in 24 games played with an 11-4 record, 2.59 ERA, which incidentally was his exact same ERA in the 8-5 2021 year, his last Major League Baseball season. So he threw 156 innings. It's Japan, right? So you're going to say it's not as good as Major League Baseball. Well, where are we getting all the top prospects from right now to come back over and play in the major leagues? So anyway, that just throwing in some stats to back it up.
What he did in Japan,
right?
Yeah, and there are people that have said that, right? It's the dead ball era of Japan in Japan. Well, Yamamoto, whatever, Shohei obviously came from there and it was successful.
The guy the Cubs just signed,
yeah,
Imanga.
There's a lot of guys that have come from there. So why are we saying those guys were successful and will be at Major League Baseball, but he wouldn't be? And Tom put in there Bauer posted a 2.76 ERA in Japan last season, better than our entire starting rotation. 2.76 is it's great for a starter and would obviously be. We just keep on getting more comments, so we'll just keep going. I want to wrap this conversation up in the next few minutes here and move on to the other parts. But if Redbirds sign Bauer, they are immediate favorite to win the division. Literally a no-brainer. I think they're already the favorite. I think Pacoda, Fangraphs, all the others have already put that the Cardinals are already going to be the favorite to win the division. I think they're all pretty in line that had the Cardinals winning 85 games approximately, and the rest of the division below 500. If the Cubs get Bellinger back, that might change their projections. But
I think it would. I mean, that's the thing for me right now with the Cubs because their rotation, I think, is you could argue is better than ours even still at this point.
I don't still think that our rotation is good by any means, but it's much improved, right?
Which isn't saying a lot
That's
from
not saying
last
a lot.
year.
And I also think that the worst possibilities together happened last year. And then they also sold, so then it makes it look even worse,
right?
Because they sold and got out of it. And Tom also then adds on that if he thinks that with Bauer, the Cardinals would immediately become a contender, and that
probably like postseason or otherwise.
Postseason World Series is what he's referring to as a contender.
You need two aces,
and I know that most of you, and Josh included, hates just to get in, and I think Kyle hates this too, just to get in and you see what happens. And hates when the Cardinals think that way, but in our life, that's the way that the Cardinals have won, is just barely scraping by and getting in and getting hot at the right time. And that's what the Diamondbacks did, right? The Diamondbacks were not a favorite by any means, and they went on super hot streak to get to the World Series last year.
But they had the pitching. They had those co-aces that we have not had, you could argue, since
absolutely
when? 2011, 2012.
Right. And
hey, speaking of the division, how bad is Milwaukee going to be? What has gone on in Milwaukee?
Yeah, what are they doing?
I don't remember. It was one of you two that I've been texting. Like, I do not understand the Rhys Hoskins signing for 2 years and $30-something million, then go and trade Burns.
Yeah, your ace. And
so did Hoskins go, wait a second, I went out of here now? Like, I thought we were going to compete for the
Willie
division.
Adames
Is
their
now
all-star
available.
shortstop, supposedly available. But then they went and signed Gary Sanchez yesterday. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't quite understand it either. And so the division is not great already. So the Cardinals could stand pat and still have a really good chance at just winning the division by itself. But as everyone is saying in the chat part of this conversation, is Bauer would be a game changer, and I completely agree with for the Cardinals, it would give them another leg up to where I think that they already are. Anyone, you have anything else to say on the Bauer situation? And then we'll move on to the other part. And then someone on Twitter does say they do believe it is collusion. So not all the Twitter comments are coming right here, but they do believe there's a collusion with Major League Baseball and teams to not allow it. And I think that's kind of obvious, really. I mean, to me. And I think that's at some point, I think it'll get litigated. And he'll probably get some settlement to go away and be quiet, I would think.
Yeah, I don't have too much else other than, my vote of yes is on, can he actually still pitch and be a legitimate, 2, 3, 4 starter in our rotation? I think so, based on what you saw last year in Japan, based on obviously what he's done in the last couple of years. But I think he's still got it. I think that he would be, again, very low risk, very high reward. But I get people who would say, look, and I'm on the other end of this too, Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery are still out there. If we were going to spend some more money, go get Jordan Montgomery. That would be great. Yes. Yeah. Like, he can do it because he did it with us last year. But the Cardinals aren't going to do that either. They aren't going to spend that kind of money.
All right. Kyle, you have anything else or you want to move on?
Let's go.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Oli Marmol and Mr. Yadi Molina. Sorry, I was just tweeting saying we're moving on Twitter. So people that are hating us, the 30% of people that hate us for the last 24 hours can then have a conversation about Oli Marmol. Is Oli Marmol a lame duck manager? I think that is I mean, that is another political term, right? Is he a lame duck manager? Is it where his contract is up at the end of the year? Is it just, well, it's if it doesn't work out, he's not getting re-signed and we're moving on? Is Yadi Molina waiting in the wings if the Cardinals don't get off to a hot start and Yadi's going to jump in and become the manager? Is it that if Oli Marmol does not win the World Series, they're just going to let him walk and Yadi Molina is going to be the manager? That's how it feels to me. Is that what you guys feel is happening on the manager side?
Yeah, I mean, this seems like the one thing to me that's like, yes, it's going to happen one way or the other. If we are like we were come the All-Star break, come maybe even, June, like we were last year, I don't know how he's still there. I just don't, especially with Yachty,
Do you think
winning
they
championships in
do
the.
you think they move to Yachty in season if that is the case? Let's say it was the same
Oh,
first
absolutely.
half as last year. Is it Yachty or Molina who comes in?
If it's not Yachty, then it's Descalso.
Yeah.
I could see that with Yachty as his, but with them hiring Yachty the way that they have this year and giving the opportunity to him to come and go as he wants, I think if he actually wanted it, they would do it in season. And
Well,
he's coaching and he's winning the Caribbean Series. He's winning the World Baseball Classic. He's winning with his basketball team. I don't think there's any question that he can't coach and be a champion. My only wonder with him would be he's doing that like obviously there's not a huge language barrier with him, but I would be really curious to see like how would he handle the media side. That's the one thing with Yachty that I'd be like, man, I wonder how those post game interviews would go when he
yeah,
has to explain himself. That's the one part
sure.
of it that I don't know how well that might go because he's never really had to do it. But I don't think you can argue with the results of can he coach. I think he's been proving that for the last couple of years.
My conspiracy theory part of it is that Yachty didn't take a more full on role with the Cardinals this season, like that they tried to negotiate with, because he didn't want to be associated with it as a full blown
Failure if it's
entity of the failure. So he can be
smart.
kind of sort of in it, and then whenever it hits the fan, then he's in. Or at the end of the year, and Ollie doesn't. I mean, I don't think Ollie returns unless they win the World Series. Like, I just don't think that is. I don't. If
Oh, I don't agree with that.
you don't,
No, no. If we get to the playoffs, get to 87, 88, not, win the division, get to the playoffs.
if they win
Even if
85
they
games, they win. The projections are 85 games. If the Cardinals win 85 games and make the playoffs, get bounced in the first round, you think that Ollie stays and Yachty's not the manager next year?
It's a good question. That's a great poll question. I
Kyle,
think
what do you think?
yeah, it's tough.
I'm looking back through the contracts of Mike Schilt and Mike Matheny. Matheny was not allowed to finish the 3 years of his deal, despite playoff success. Mike Schilt did finish his one and only 3-year deal and was not renewed in the offseason. So the Cardinals have a little propensity to do both things in the recent past as far as how they depart with managers. Is Yachty ready to be a big league manager? I think that's the $1 million question. I think he's got the brains. I think he's got the nuances. Is it the time that that's going to be the case? And we hired Mike Schilt, who had no major league managerial experience. We hired Oli Marmol, who had no major league managerial experience. So there's that track record for you as well. Mike Matheny fit that same mold as well. So the last 3 Cardinal skippers haven't had the big league experience. We did have a former catcher, and maybe some of us wish we still had that former catcher as the manager all these years later from where we've been the last few. But nonetheless, I think it's a real shot. And I don't expect there to be contract extension talks. I don't care how good we get. I think Oli Marmol, to be secure, has got to make a deep postseason run, at which point in time in the offseason, he may earn himself an extra year or two. But I fully expect if he wants it, which I think remains to be seen, that it's Yadi's job for the taking anything shy of a deep postseason run this year.
Right. Do you think that if they do delay it and then Yachty would want to move on to something else? Yeah, isn't that what you
But
risk of that? Like, well, Yachty could want to go and do something else if you're like, well, you're going to give Ollie an extension, and all he did was just barely get by. That's would be the risk, right? That you're missing out on Yachty because you are sticking with Ollie a little longer.
I think
Well,
what you
we
said, Kyle.
go ahead, Josh.
I think the deep postseason run is the thing for me. I think if you win a terrible division at 85 games and get bounced in the first round, then yeah, I don't see an extension for him. I think if you win closer to 90, win the division, maybe get to the NLCS, take it to 6 or 7 games and lose, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave him a 2 or 3 year deal. Because Mo's already made it clear that Ollie was his guy when he got rid of Schilt over philosophical differences.
Right.
So the last thing Mo wants is to have another manager that he picked and yet failed on the guy delivering.
But Mo is done too.
Supposedly, yeah, in 2 years.
In 2020,
after
after
2024,
after
yeah.
2025, Mo is riding off into the sunset or becoming a consultant or whatever. He's no longer going to be the whatever he is now, the director.
Pobo.
The baseball operations guy. Like he's going to do something else. Maybe he'll stick with the franchise in some capacity, but he's not going to be the one pulling the strings every day. And I think that's he doesn't. I don't think he cares to get it wrong one more time. Like I don't think he's worth. Look, when we talked to Mo at the last blogger day, the last two, he's really just been a different person. Like like more of a no Fs. Like I just don't like. This is what we're doing. And
Is that how he was? Because I wasn't there this
Yeah.
summer. Was that how he was this summer?
yeah, it was like, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing, and like I don't like it is what it is. Like he's not worried about his job because he knows the Cardinals aren't going to fire him, and he's done in a year, 2 years.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it, Kyle?
Yeah.
So excited for opening day, I can't even stand it with that discussion. But I think maybe we're going to see that, maybe optimistically speaking, that we're done with status quo, and can. The frustrating thing is fans still showed up at the ballpark. I don't think this team felt any additional pressure because of the suck of last year to do better this year. Yeah, they went out, they made some moves. Did they make enough moves? I think so, to win the division. We're getting back to win the division, and all else is okay after that. We're not making moves to get to that next level at this point. So maybe we say we're back to status quo, but where does that leave us going forward? And that's the frustrating thing for Cardinal fans. And let's leave it this way. I don't want to set Yadi Molina up for failure, right? I think we've got to make sure that if and when we make the move to make Yadi the manager of the Cardinals, we've got to give him all of the tools and the resources and support staff and all of the things that he needs to be successful, because nothing would spell train wreck more than a disastrous start for Yadi Molina as the Cardinal manager.
Well, but do you think they would just give Ollie another 1 year deal? Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't see that either. So like setting him up, what does setting him up mean as well? Because Yadi's not. I don't think. I mean, we all know Yadi's personality. He's not going to be okay with the front office not doing enough, or he'll be vocal about saying like, "I need more help in this position." Like I feel like Yadi has the balls to stand up to Mo or Bill DeWitt or whomever and say, "I need this," and I don't think Ollie has that because he saw what happened to Schilt and
His mentor.
Yeah, exactly. So, like setting him up, and also to the other point of going for it. The Dodgers are going for it as much as possible, but I'm willing to bet, just like the Mets, they still won't win the World Series because the money doesn't matter.
There's no guarantee. Yeah, there's no guarantee of that. I mean, and look, on this discussion of Ollie, he was on a podcast interview with Xavier Scruggs. That was a good listen. I like Ollie. Like I think I like optically, like I mean how he speaks with the media. I like how he speaks with the fans. I think he can be a good manager. And I don't think that last year is all on him, for sure.
No, I mean it was just a big.
Everything that went bad could have went bad.
Absolutely.
Now he will tell, and he did say it, to a degree. Like there were some things. I think if he could go back, he'd do different. Like maybe airing out O'Neill on the 5th day of the season. Maybe that wasn't that early in the season to do it. Maybe it was almost like foreshadowing how the rest of the season was going to go. But and then the Contreras stuff, all this stuff. I think all we can hope for this year with him is that he learned from that, and we see him really blossom in this. I mean, look, like he had a terrible starting staff last year, so I don't know that I can even judge too much his bullpen decisions because those were predicated on having to bring guys in the fourth or fifth inning because we didn't have starters that could even go that far. So for me,
but do we now?
well, we'll see. I mean, and we can get into the starters we signed, but they are guys that those three alone had almost as many quality starts as our entire staff had last year.
Yes.
So they do bring a bulk of innings. We'll see if they're quality ones. But for Oli, I would say this is one of the most interesting seasons I think for me that I'm excited for because of how last year went and because of Oli, on an expired deal and potentially Yadi, wanting to manage. And then you've got Goldie and Arenado. They're getting toward the end, of the peak of their careers. Can they do it? And then you've got Wall. You've got all the young guys. I do think there's excitement for the season because of how bad last year was to see how it could go. And so this revamped bullpen, I think I'm really interested to see. One, if we got guys that are good enough, because I don't know the guys that well that we got. I mean, the numbers like they are there, but I'm interested to see how well Oli can do bullpen management with a staff, hopefully, that will get him some quality starts.
Yeah, and that's a good transition of talking about the new guys or the old guys in Lance Lynn, but
the band's back together. Descalso, Lynn.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily excited about any of them, but I know that it's going to be. I think that no matter what, the season should be better than last season. Like no matter what,
so.
Like it because everything that went bad, and it can only go up, and it's an outlier of events. The Pacoda things, the Fangraphs, the Cardinals always outpace all of those. They have we did the math on it over the last 10 years. The Cardinals usually do better by 5+ wins on those. Sometimes 14 and 15 and 16+ wins over the projections. Last year was the only one in the last 10 that they even went below. And it was below, I think, 10-ish. So it really threw off that whole average.
Yeah.
I think it was more like 9 total over that other 9 years besides that year. So I just think that it will be a better season. I'm not excited about Arenado or Goldie. What I'm excited about is see what Nolan Gorman does, Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, and see the steps that Lars Nootbaar can make and what Wilson Contreras does with the support of his team.
I think Wilson's going to have a huge year. He's probably my most excited Cardinal. I'm like looking forward to watching.
Yeah, I agree. Like his second half was spectacular, over 300 average. Yeah, like if you put his second half combined with what his first half would be if it was the same, it would put him over 30+ home runs and over 100 RBI, which he's never done in his career. Like that's how good of a second half that he had. So like I'm not like overly excited about the season. I'm excited to see what the young guys take the steps that they necessarily didn't completely take, and hope that the leaders are leading. I'm not super pumped for the season if you can't tell. Kyle, what about you?
I'm not either. It's kind of like prove it to me first. Prove it to me that you've done something that you think we're going to compete. I think what's interesting, not to drag us back into Oli here, but what's interesting is how long is the leash for him this year in terms of if we don't start well, is it the end of April before he's gone? Is it May? Does he get the whole season? What is the move that the Cardinals would look to make, and how soon would they make it if it doesn't go well? I think that's a big question because I think you're going to have a very irritated Cardinal Nation if things don't go well from the word go, and get right pretty quickly. I think the Cardinals need to have a good start to the season, and pulling up the schedule. We start with the Marlins, then the Phillies. So it's not an easy start. Then you go on the road to the D-backs, then to the A's.
It's first 16 games.
Yeah, the first 16 are brutal. I went to April. I should have backed up here. Yeah. So in LA for 4 on the road. Yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah.
At the Padres, then the Marlins for the home opener. It's a brutal start, and how much into that start are we going to go before the Cardinals front office says, okay, that's enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think that those first 16 games, I think, are going to be huge. I think leash wise, I think what we're looking at personally, I think you're looking at what the same kind of leash Matheny got, and I think they would let it go to about the All-Star break. Matheny got fired. I'm looking here. July 14th, 2018 was when they let him go. So it was right at or right after the All-Star break. I think that's what you would see with Oli. And, if it's really gone off the rails, then maybe June or sooner. But it's really going to be.
I don't expect them to play well early. I really don't. Like, I expect
Well,
them.
they never do.
Yeah, I know. But like
last 3 or 4 years, they haven't.
So like if we have a bad start, Ollie's gone, then Ollie's gonna be gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just expect them to
But would it be totally the Cardinals to go 10-6 somehow out of nowhere? These first 16 games, it somehow wouldn't surprise me either. I don't know why.
But also, you know what? And I'm not excited about this pitching staff or this team and the leaders in on it. But you know what? Also, wouldn't it shock me if this team won the World Series? Because that's what happens. Because it's baseball, and that's why it's awesome. Is because any team that has any salt can actually be a winner, and it doesn't matter how much money you spend. And Kurt says,
totally agree, Kurt.
Going 8-8 would be a win, and I can't get it up there. I would agree as well if it goes. Here it comes. Maybe no.
Maybe because it's a Facebook one. I don't know if that matters.
It's anyways.
Yeah, but yeah, 8-8 would be. I mean, yeah, I'd take that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that keeps Oli at the voices around Oli at bay at 8-8. Well, don't you think? I mean, I think people would be like, all right, that's good. It pops up. I think my computer's just going slow. I can see it on the other screen that it has kicked up there. But going 8-8 to start would be a tough start. I would agree with that. Anything around there is fine. And that's when I say it, I don't think they're going to have a good start. I don't think they're going to be above 500, and it would be fine in that range. But if we don't think that the Cardinals are going to have a good start and that means Oli is gone, then I just say, hey, well, who's going to be the next manager? And I think that has to be I think the tea leaves are saying it's going to obviously be Yadi Molina. Do you see? I don't see Matt Holliday all of a sudden saying, "Well, my high school age son is still in high school, but now I'm willing to come join the team." Right?
No.
Right. I don't.
Cardinals, by the way, started off 7-9 their first 16 last year.
Yeah, and we were like, "It's going to turn around. It's going to turn around."
Well, because the offense looks. If you remember, the offense looks so good early on. I mean, the opening day we lost. It was a slugfest with the Blue Jays. We lost 10-9 or something.
We lost 2 out of 3 on the opening weekend with the Blue Jays, and it was just a lot of runs, and we just thought, dang, this offense is going to be amazing, and the offense underachieved as well. And we've done all this fixing to the pitching staff, and I still worry that there's some offensive struggles that could still be there as well. So I'm going to move on from those guys that we're talking about, and if you had, with what's available out there, Kyle, and I'll ask you, Josh, as well, with what's available out there now that's left on the free agent market, if you had all the money to spend, what would you go buy right now with what's available? You think that would fit for this team, that would make sense for the team and what we currently have. What would you go get?
Well,
it's slim.
Go, you, Joe. Go.
I think.
Sorry, go, Josh. Go ahead.
It's
Sorry.
slim pickings, I think, if you look at the top tier. I mean, it's really just Snell and Montgomery.
And by the way, not just pitchers. This can be
right. Okay. Right. Yeah.
Position players as well. Like if you were going to just have some money and upgrade this team in some way with what's still out there, what would you spend it on?
I mean, this might sound crazy, but they won't do it. It's not going to happen. But I would love if they went and tried to get Cody Bellinger. And you say, well, we don't need another first baseman. Well, he also plays center field. And you know who might not be ready to play center field this year with his wrist? Tommy Edman.
I mean,
he's saying that he will be, but how many times have we heard that before from Cardinals, medical folks?
Tommy, look, I am a Tommy lover. I like
Nolan, just got a 2-year extension.
Nolan Gorman and Tommy Edman. I can create.
You will ride or die with them.
I have stan accounts for both of them. I love Tommy Two Bags. I got the hoodie. Like, I'm all in. But Tommy Edman is not a center fielder. He is a great utility man. He's an awesome utility guy, and I love it. I just don't think he's an everyday center fielder.
We're gonna find out.
And if Cody Bellinger is a risk, and if Snell is still out there, but is it because of Boris and how much money they want, or teams scared of Bellinger? Like, you've had 1-2 good years in the last 7, so we're willing to sign you, just not for this much money. You know what I mean? Like, if Bellinger's willing to take a 1 year and a bunch of money, I would be interested in that. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, if it's not a long commitment because he wants to bet on himself 1 more year, I would be interested in that, because he does play center field, and but if he needs to be taken out a little bit and DH or play first base, then you can have Tommy out there. Maybe Carlson can be out there, or Newt can play center and Carlson's in left. Like, it gives you a lot more flexibility whenever you have a actual confident center fielder out there, to me.
Kyle, what do you think?
Well, I mean, you said the question was if we had money was not a matter. Well, I think I like Jordan Montgomery back, probably pitching wise. Be ready for this move, though. Tommy Pham is available. We can continue the Cardinal Revolution reunion signings and bring Tommy Pham back. Still a free agent right now, heading into his year 35 season. Can you believe Tommy Pham is 35 years old? That's just insane to me. But he's still available. So that sounds like a Cardinal deal that will happen before opening day.
But but adding another outfielder, I mean,
they added Matt.
I didn't say it had to make sense.
It's not the most complete insane thing. Exactly. Yeah. Hey, Tommy Pham was on this week talking with Jim Hayes, the cat, and he had some good things to say about St. Louis, which really surprised me. Said he had a lot of good coaches and managers. Mike Matheny wasn't named in that, which is not surprising, but he had some really good things to say, and said that he actually went to other organizations and realized, wow, like, this isn't quite the same. How I was, brought up to learn how to win and play. I think he showed, he's still got some in the tank with the playoffs. Last Cardinals to have a 2020 season. We were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, and piggybacking on that part of the conversation, like Jordan Montgomery, Snell, like Jordan Montgomery was good, and where would he fit in the rotation as it sits now? Would he be
He'd be your number 2.
A 2? You think he'd be a 2?
Oh yeah. You have to be the Gray. I mean, he doesn't fall behind Lynn or the rest of the staff.
Gibson, who's Michaelis? Like Michaelis, I think Michaelis is going to have a better year than he had last year.
He seems that's kind of high profile every other year. Usually he has a
not
good
to mention, Matt's had a spectacular second half as well.
He did. He came back and was really good as a starter, but can he stay healthy?
Yeah, and that's the whole conversation of Mo in last year saying we have 5 starters, and this year he says it again, we have 5 starters. Someone's going to get hurt, and that's why I'm fine with call back Trevor Bauer, because if someone gets hurt or if someone's not at level, they move to the bullpen. How would you like to see Lance Lynn in the bullpen if you had someone else that slide into a starting role? I think Lance Lynn would be just fine out of the bullpen, or Trevor Bauer would be just good in the bullpen if he's not in that top 5, or Steven Matz slides
Lynn's
down.
done it. Lynn's done it on a World Series team. Steven Matz has done it.
The phone didn't ring, I don't think, but
yeah.
But Steven Matz would be the one you could slide out there as well. I would feel more comfortable sliding one of those guys back to the bullpen instead of going and finding another bullpen arm that I'm not too confident about. Like, I'm more confident in those guys doing well than I would be from somewhere else. I'd rather have another starter and slide one of those guys back and forth. And then whenever someone gets injured, inevitably, then they go back into the starting rotation.
Yeah,
personally.
I think the money, if you're going to spend money or you're going to make a trade, it would have to be for another starter right now, because you've made it clear that you're putting all your eggs in the basket with this offense. You're banking on Donovan being healthy and having a great year, which I think he can.
But where's he going to play?
He's going to play everywhere.
Yeah,
I think he's going to play personally. I think he's going to play a lot of second base. I think Nolan Gordon's going to DH.
I love Tommy Edman.
Yeah.
But all the fan graphs and everything says Tommy Edman and Brendan Donovan profile as like the exact same player. The average, the on base, like it's all utility. It's all the same player. Do we need 2 of the exact same player that aren't hitting home runs on this team?
I don't know that we do, but we're going to get it because Tommy Edman just got a 2-year extension. And how much did we hear Brendan Donovan talked about
as
at
a leader.
winter warm-up as a leader?
Yeah.
So, neither are going anywhere. I do think Donovan has I do think he's shown he can have more pop. He showed that last year, and he definitely got the on base over Tommy. I think Donovan's got to be your leadoff guy for most of the season, except maybe the times you want to throw Newbar up there. I think
Yeah.
Newbar could lead off as well. So I think they're really banking a lot on the offense and the young guys taking big steps, which I hope they do. And if they do, you got to go after pitching. And I think it would really be between Montgomery or Snell if you're looking at free agents. And Montgomery, you got to say, probably they're more comfortable with because they saw him do it with them for 2 years. Snell, though, man, in terms of stuff, he's definitely got the stuff. But is he going to be another guy that you look up and it's 5 1/3 and he's at 105 pitches and you got to take him out? Because that happened a lot with him.
I think if any of those guys, even on the offensive side, Bellinger as well, if any of those guys say, I'm going to do a year or two and prove it myself, maybe a year deal and an option year, those sort of things, with 1 year deal and a prove it deal, I'm entertaining that as possibilities if I'm the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know if the St. Louis Cardinals will do that, but if that's available, you have to have that conversation internally, right?
They haven't. They didn't do it with Bellinger last year. A few years ago, they didn't do it with Jock Peterson. There were several times the last couple of years where it would have made sense for him to do it based off of our outfield production or health or otherwise. For whatever reason, they just don't do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move on to what is the other thing I said? Oh, so before the shitstorm of Trevor Bauer, the last 24 hours, we've started a poll to talk about ballpark chasing and best ballparks in MLB. We started a bracket. Can you pull that up on our tweets, and then we can share the screen?
Yes.
I have been to 22 or 23 ballparks. Kyle, where are you? What's your number?
I got to recount because they keep getting replaced, but somewhere around 20.
20. And Josh, where are you at?
Oh, gosh, not near as many as you guys.
Okay.
I've been to all of the division except Pittsburgh and then a few other American League. So probably like 8.
Okay. And my son has now been to 4. He's 3, but he's been to 4.
It's already been half to what I'm.
And my wife, I think, has been to 8 or 10-ish now as well. But we started a bracket. I took people on there's a group on Facebook if you're into ballparks and chasing and following and going to all the ballparks like a lot of baseball fans are. I think a lot of Cardinals fans are more into that than other fans of other teams. There's a group on Facebook called Ballpark Chasers, and I post in there and I've shared I created a bracket. As you know, it's almost March, right? It's almost March Madness time. So I've created a bracket and broken down the all of them in top 30 ways. I've taken all the numbers from all kinds of different sites, reviews, and different things, and seeded them based on the average of all of those. You have it now? Okay, I see it kind of populating here. And so there's 1 through 30. And there's going to be people, and there's people in that group that have said, this doesn't make sense. Like, how does Wrigley end up at 7? And how does, let's see if you can see it. Can you see it, Kyle? Are you seeing that there? Okay. Yeah, zoom into that.
Down here?
No, just there you go. So you can see, so Wrigley ends up at 7. And I want to explain this briefly for people. How does Wrigley end up at 7? Well, with data, if a lot of people put it at the bottom 25 to 30 number, and there's people that put it at the top 1 through 5, the average of a ballpark will then move. Does that make sense to you?
We're Cardinals podcast account, right? So you're gonna have probably some steep Cubs fans saying, "Whoa," and voting at the top, and then Cardinals fans being like, "This place is."
But how I seeded them was based on data and reviews from all over, not from everywhere that I could possibly find, and then seed them that way. So people also think that Dodger Stadium but people will aggressively rank teams low that they hate,
right?
And
which isn't surprising.
And over ones that they love. The Cardinals are, to me, Busch Stadium is a top 5 ballpark, and maybe even top 3 to myself. But consistently, it gets a top 10 from people.
Would you have said that about Busch pre-Ballpark Village? This Busch Stadium.
Yes, but then it just adds to it. Like when I go to a ballpark, I walk around the outside of it. When I go to a new ballpark, I walk around the outside of it all the way around. And then I go in, and then you go to the restaurants and the bars. You look at the statues and you look at the things on the outside, the facade. The part. You go inside. You make a loop on the inside of the ballpark. You look at the concourse and the things that are in there. Like in Atlanta, they have their museum, like a walkthrough on their main concourse. Then you go into the seating area, and you have that reveal, which I love about Busch Stadium, is the reveal that you can't see it like a minor league ballpark from the concourse. And then you also have the view, and then you also have the atmosphere and all. I'm judging all of these things and putting that into it. So Busch has all those good things, but then whenever you add Ballpark Village to it, then it just elevates it even more to me. Anyway, so now we're down to the Elite Eight.
I zoomed in quite a bit here so we can see a little
Yeah,
more
so
of the
now
board.
we're down to the Elite Eight. Go right there. Yeah, stop right there. So Fenway Park beat out Citizens Bank Park. Citizens Bank was one of my most that I was disappointed in. Kyle and I went to that park together probably in like 2009-ish, probably. And Fenway is great. And I went a couple years ago. It's awesome. I think the top 8 are pretty right. And if people were complaining that it went chalk, well, that means my seating was really good. If everything went pretty on par, to me, the worst stadium left in the top 8 is Wrigley, and I think Wrigley is overrated. But also, if you look how people vote it all over the place, some people put it as the bottom 5, and some people put it as the top 5, and I think that's a nostalgia part of it. There's no reason that Oracle Park should lose to Wrigley. It's not even in the same category.
That's Giants, right?
Yes, it's not even in the same category. Dodger Stadium to me is the next worst in the final 8. Kyle, what are your like Dodger Stadium and like those final 8? What are your thoughts on the worst 2 left in the final 8?
If I want to be complimentary to the people at Wrigley Field, I would tell you the last time I went was before the quote unquote renovation where they put the big scoreboard in. But the place is an S-hole. I mean, it's terrible. It's awful. There's something to be said for classic, retro, old school stadiums. I've not been to Fenway. My assumption is that's what that is. Wrigley Field is not that. It is a hellhole that needs to be bulldozed and started over. They should be getting in on the discussion with the Chicago Bears to get out of Soldier Field, and maybe they should go do this together somewhere in Arlington Heights, like the Bears are trying to do. I don't know. I
Man,
just
I
not
wish
a
I had
fan
that
of
on full
Wrigley Field.
screen. I wish I had that on full screen so then I could like snip that for later and put that on Twitter and watch Kyle get roasted and also applauded at the same time. Like I wish I had that
Yes,
as full screen. Um,
right. Now I have
and
not been to Oracle Park, so I can't speak to that. I haven't been to Petco, so I can't say that. But I will say that Camden Yards is in my top 2,
okay.
top 3. So I loved Camden Yards. I try not to rank Busch Stadium because I go there all the time, and that's probably my favorite because I'm there all the time. But man, you cannot beat the view at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And anybody that puts PNC outside of their top 5 is crazy. So, I
What
think
about Dodger
PNC
Stadium
for
for
me,
you?
yeah, somewhere between nostalgic and old. I mean, it's probably middle of the road for me because it's not anything special and it's not old enough to be classic. So that's just my personal opinion. Um, there are a lot more I would like over Dodger Stadium, um, for sure. So if I'm voting in the final to get to the final 4, for me it's PNC, probably Busch Stadium, probably Camden Yards, and absolutely Oracle. A place I've never
Yeah,
been,
and
but I know it's better than the other one.
so right now you can vote that this is running until I think Sunday evening ish. That this vote is going to get to the final 4, and right now it is exactly lining up what Kyle just said. That is what's leading right now. The closest one is Petco, and whatever that one is going against Camden.
Camden Yards.
Camden Yards and Petco is the is the
Still
closest.
a pretty good lead for
Yeah,
me,
it's
but it's the closest.
it's the closest one. And then updates on the bracket is not exact. Because I have to go in there and manually update those. So you can still vote on our Twitter page on those. And once that gets to the final four, and then we'll do a week-long voting in the final four as well.
I've only been to 3 of these. What the
Final
the
four.
final 8?
Well, yeah. So what does
Or
that
the-
tell you about? You're missing out on some really good
Yeah,
parts.
well, and you guys have told me for years PNC. That's the one
So
in the division that I haven't been to.
do you know?
And
Do you know
I've
where the
got
Cardinals?
it on my list
You know where
this
the
year.
Cardinals play 4th of July weekend?
Let's go.
That my wife. And
I would love.
My
Yeah.
wife would like to go. She's never been, but I have. Kyle and I went to the same year. We went to a bunch of parks. We went to like 4, I think, that summer. It was like 09-ish. I don't maybe
Yeah,
2010-ish.
Cleveland, Detroit. Yeah,
Yeah,
we were all over.
We went to a few that season, and it was firework night, so tons of fans were at PNC, which is I think important for the feel of the ballpark. Albert Pujols hit a home run like in the bottom of the 8th inning to take the lead, and then they won the game. And it was a great game. It was a night game. It was a lot of fun. My of those of like those my best experience outside of all the other ones was Fenway Park, which is what Busch Stadium is going against.
Well, you got Nolan Gorman ball.
Yes, but like the whole, we went to 2 days in a row,
Yeah.
like all of it, and I had once thought I was gonna save Fenway for my last one, and then after going to Wrigley, I was like, ugh, maybe I shouldn't, because I hated Wrigley. It felt like a minor league ballpark, felt really small, and I was like, now I'm worried that I'm not gonna like Fenway because of how old it was and all those different things. And I really enjoyed Fenway. So, like, I was worried that it was. And now I wish I would have saved it because we had such a good time.
Yeah.
But I love Boston and that whole trip. But that, like, those two are going against each other, 4 and 5, and I think that's a really tight battle. Of one of those two should win. Could go the next one, but I think PNC beats either of them.
Yeah, I've been to Busch, Wrigley, and Camden Yards. So years ago, when Nationals Park was newer,
Yeah,
I lived in DC for a semester for college. 45-minute red line ride to Baltimore to go to catch an Orioles game.
and
I agree with 100% with Kyle. It's in my top. I mean, it's probably right under Busch for me. I loved Camden
I would
Yards.
love to go back to Camden Yards when they're good. Kyle and I went again to Camden Yards together many years ago, and they were playing the New York Yankees. They were
Got
terrible, and there were all Yankees fans there.
Yeah, I think that was the Adam Jones era when I was there. So they weren't great, but they weren't awful. But what I remember from it was a doubleheader against the Rangers. I think it was the Rangers, and Josh Hamilton hit like 3 bombs.
Oh, nice.
That day. That's what I remember. But I remember it's, I was sitting behind home plate higher up. You see the factory, in the background. The food was great. The atmosphere was awesome.
Yeah, my wife is mad that we weren't obviously together way back then, but she's like, she loves crab cakes. Like, how did you go there without me? Like, I want to go back there. She wants to go to all these parks again. And now that I forget about them along the way, I'm like, yeah, I would love to go back and do those again. Well, there was a couple people, a lot of people in the Ballpark Chasers group that questioned Kauffman Stadium versus Wrigley early on. Like, that was a bad draw for them. Where do you sit? You've been Kansas City?
I haven't.
Okay.
I will say I think Minute Maid Park's a tough draw for Nationals Park. I was going to say I've been to Nationals Park.
I have.
It's a nice park.
I think it's an underrated park.
It is underrated.
But as you see also in the final 8, not a single domed roof stadium made it that far. And I think that tells you a lot of like people want to see baseball outside. But Kyle, you've been to Kansas City. How do you feel about that? Is that a top 15 or bottom 15 ballpark for you?
I think we each all probably have a different system of rating the different parks and the different factors that what we put into it. I would say from recollection, Kansas City seemed to me to be one of the best parks to go to if you had a kid. There was a lot of stuff to do, family oriented in the outfield. The waterfall feature out there is pretty cool. For me, I would probably put it top 15 versus bottom 15, but it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Is he cut for you? Is he gone?
Did I lose you?
Well, Kyle, yeah, you were there. I was like, is that just me that's hearing that?
Oh, I heard him there.
Oh, you got him there? Okay. Well, all right. Yeah, so to me, like Kauffman, I thought, again, we went Cardinals last season, I think it was. We went for the Cardinals series. So I think my experience is different than other people in the Ballpark Chasers group, that we went on their busiest weekend of the year. And it took us almost 2 hours to get out of the parking lot. I hate
Mm.
parking lot ballparks. I believe a ballpark should be surrounded by buildings and things to do. Right? I think that's like
Milwaukee was like that.
Milwaukee's like that, and they love to tailgate.
And you had to walk so far.
Yeah.
I went there opening day a few years ago, March 31st, and it was like
cold.
21.
Right. So like
And that walk, it was terrible.
I mean, Philadelphia's like that. They're complex, but they've added the live type situation next door. The new Globe Life is like that. They share think about this in Arlington, Texas. They share a parking lot with Six Flags, Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium, the old ballpark, and their new ballpark. Think of how many parking spots are around there. It's nothing but concrete as far as your eye can see. They've also added a live type thing that we have in St. Louis next to it. There's a Lowe's hotel that they've added to it as well. So I think everyone's trying to get to that little area around it. But and that's why Kansas City's going to move downtown. It's going to be so much better. That's why the White Sox are going to move in around stuff because
those renderings look nice
so
that came
much
out
better.
today.
Absolutely. But on the brackets that I thought that didn't get enough love to me, and I don't think either of you have been there yet, is Truist Park in Atlanta, the new Braves ballpark.
Oh yeah, you've told me that one's really nice.
To me, it is the best outside area of a ballpark there is.
Is that that's not the newest park, is it? It's the Rangers.
Globe
probably
Life,
the
yeah,
newest.
the Rangers would be the newest. It opened in 2020. The first year was Globe Life was 2020. So I think Truist was like 18-ish, I think. But Truist has the best, better than St. Louis, better than Wrigley, better than name any of the ones you want. It has the best outdoor area around a ballpark there is. It's the Battery. It's spectacular. It's the best. The park itself is a little more cookie cutter plain, but it still has cool features. The statues on the outside of obviously great Braves players. The fans were great. There's a museum, like I said earlier, and this was that you walk through. It's like a walking through in their concourse. That is really cool. And I try to do tours now everywhere I go as well. I try to go on a tour at all the ballparks I go to, so you can find out the other stuff. And it was an awesome ballpark. And now I have so many to me that are like 7 to 15 that I don't know exactly where they should go in my rankings because I like so many ballparks that they're all in a more of a jump. I can tell you the bottom 5 a lot easier, and I can tell you the top 5, but the other ones to me there's a lot less of a gap in between.
I'm gonna have to
Kyle,
jump in to tell you I gotta. Hey, I'm jumping in real quick to tell you I'm jumping out because the cell phone charger that I have here is not doing its thing. So I'm gonna be dead on battery here soon.
We're
But
wrapping up.
I'm
We're
gonna
wrapping
rush
up.
home and catch the end. But
Anyways.
there you go. Go get Trevor Bauer. Get rid of Oli Marmol. Go vote for PNC Park. Life is good.
All
There
right.
you go.
See you next time.
See you, Kyle.
So, again, so just to finish that conversation briefly on the ballparks, in like Sunday to go to the Final Four, then there'll be a vote on Twitter. You go to Twitter on our That's a Winner pod. Then you'll have all the breakdown. Oh, I just thought of this as well. Sorry. So do that, and we'll go to the championship. We'll have winners. We need to give away a hat. I completely forgot. All right. So the last time we have to give away this hat. Okay. Oh, I completely forgot about it. It's right here somewhere. It might be behind you, but we got this hat from Official League. Did a giveaway, a limited edition Cardinals hat. And if you can see it here, this Official League hat. It's probably in the closet behind you. No big deal. This is the hat. Okay.
Nice.
It's a Cardinals corduroy hat. They made a limited supply of these, and we need to give it away. So to be able to be eligible to win this hat, you had to like our post, retweet it, and did something else. I don't know. So let's just go pick a winner. Okay.
I've got a screen share too. If you want me to show more pictures.
Oh, you do have the screen. All right, here we go. Let's bring it up. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. There's the hat. So I'm just gonna pick one. I'm just gonna kind of scroll through. I didn't think about this, so I didn't have it set up. So let's just pick one person who's gonna win it. I'm gonna go with this person right here, Matt McQueen. Okay. Matt McQueen at Matt McQueen. He's a Calgary Flames fan. Calgary Stampeders. I don't know. I don't know if this guy is even a Cardinals fan, but hey, he is who I have. So we'll give him a few. Let me get rid of this. We'll give him the evening to accept, and that's the guy. If you know Matt McQueen, I'm gonna try and DM him and say that he won, and we'll mail it off to Matt as the winner. Hopefully this year we'll give away some jerseys, we'll give away some other stuff, and have some good guests, and hopefully we talk about some wins this season.
Yes, please, and some good health,
good pitching, and
huge bounce back, fire in their butt seasons from Goldie and Arenado.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm Ryan. The guy that got off earlier was Kyle. That's Josh. We appreciate you watching. That's a Winner podcast. Keep on following and keep on talking about Trevor Bauer, and we appreciate it. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at That's a Winner Pod on all of those. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's a winner. That's a winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's a winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to the World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.